welcome to e-Bookery show. And for those who are new, I'll just give a brief about our Brain City and e-Bookery show. That is, it was started by Faisal Ibrahim and our Anil Thomas here. And we have actually a remarkable group of volunteers working behind all these e-Bookery shows. We have English, Hindi, Tamil, etc. So all these are scheduled on a weekly basis, a day at a time. English e-Bookery show is on Saturdays at 6:30 IST and 5 p.m. GST. And once again, a warm welcome to all of you to this e-Bookery show. And please join our WhatsApp group also. Maybe Anil, you can post our WhatsApp group link somewhere, because last time also I said this, but they should be able to join our WhatsApp group. So that link
Sure, I'll do
may be posted here. Anil, please.
Sure.
Okay. Thank you. We have also some empowerment talks scheduled in the week, and that is another group. So that is scheduled. That is also scheduled on a weekly basis. So please join other languages e-Bookery show also. Those who are new here, you will find interesting stories and interesting, amazing authors presenting their own book reviews, or else they will be presenting others' book reviews also. So we are lucky to listen to so many stories, fiction as well as non-fiction. Here, self-help books, so many types of books will be reviewed here. Then we will have a wonderful time interacting with each other also, getting to know so many authors, like the two authors, speakers we have today here. So first thing, we have to, as the procedure goes, I'll be telling a short story about topic. That is a simple story. Sometimes it will be a folk tale, sometimes any other moral stories. So let me get on to that. This is about the Shah of Persia, and we all have heard about Birbal's intelligence. So this Shah also had heard of Birbal's intelligence, and he wrote to Akbar requesting that Birbal be sent to visit his court. And Akbar was very pleased to send him. He was extremely proud of Birbal. So he sent him to the Persian court in a splendor. And as soon as Birbal reached the Persian capital, he was sent for by the Shah. And when he reached the audience chamber, he saw a semicircular arrangement of seats. And in each was a glittering figure. All the figures were dressed exactly alike. So we can guess that that is to test Birbal. So anyone could be Shah. Birbal looked around for a while, and then he went and keenly he bowed in front of the Shah of Persia, the real Shah. So he was completely taken aback. Even though he had heard of Birbal's intelligence, he was surprised to see that he had identified the Shah. So he listened to Birbal's address and replied. Then he asked, "How did you know that I am the Shah? How did you recognize me?" So Birbal said, "When I looked around, I found everyone looking at you. So only you were not looking at anyone." Sorry. So at once I knew that you are the real Shah. So maybe the moral of the story we can assume as everyone looks up to the leader, and therefore he should be of an exemplary character. We should be able to identify a leader in the crowd. So standing out in the crowd, that will be the leader. Yes, with that small story, we now go on, and I am extremely happy that Utkarsh ji and Aashisha have come with two amazing, wonderful books. And we have all heard of grandmothers. Through grandmothers, we all have heard of Kannaki, Kovalan, and Madhavi, etc. Mythology. Those who love mythology will love this book. I hope so. So, Anil sir, I invite you to introduce the speaker, the first speaker of the day. Anil, please go on.
Thank you, Sindhu. Thank you so much. And thank you for all your support to e-Bookery. And as you have mentioned, yes, these two great books. Kannaki's Anklet is a near adaptation of Shilapati Gairab. I was actually talking to Utkarsh sir on the same thing. It's a masterpiece of the Sangam literature that showcases Tamil life and the culture in its full splendor. The epic highlights the trials and tribulations of Kannaki, an ordinary woman who endures personal adversities. But I don't get into the story because I leave that with Utkarsh sir. And now coming to the Utkarsh sir profile, he is a corporate professional turned mythologist and the author of books in the mythological fiction. He is a lecturer of a cooperative mythology at the University of Mumbai and has qualifications in mythology, both Indian and world, from Mumbai University and a guest faculty in many other institutions across the country. He's a founder member of a mythology project. It aims to dig into this rich cultural stockpile and he regularly conducts workshops on various mythologies of the world, like Greek and Mesopotamian. Uh, Also hosts a mythology comes alive series on YouTube, Sarikama Music. Utkarsh is a TEDx speaker and also a regular speaker and lecturer on various subjects of mythology. And welcome, sir. Welcome on to e-Bookery platform. Thank you for coming.
Right. Thank you very much for inviting me here, and it's a pleasure. And I must add here that the story, that Sindhuji just narrated about the leadership. And I think one of those things which I want to bring out during my talk, or probably towards the end of the talk, is the quality of a leader. And surprisingly, I mean, maybe many have not thought of it that way, but Silapathikaram actually has a very, very strong message for the leaders, which I will come to towards the end. So let me just start with this presentation that I've made, a small one, so that all of us can is this visible to everybody? Right.
Yes.
I'll have to switch off during the presentation, my
Yes.
video, because I have some, and then we'll, once I'm done, I'll start it again. Right? Yeah. So what we're going to talk about today is, an interesting epic. In India, if you ask anybody, which are the epics, and not surprisingly, people will tell you Ramayana and Mahabharata, and they'll just about stop at that. But there is another epic, which really needs to be known to people, which really needs, people need to be aware of it. And unfortunately, when I was researching on this book, I realized that not many people really knew about Shilapatikaram. And it's one of the most interesting epics of its time, because it kind of breaks all the rules that an epic is supposed to have. For example, there are no battles. Absolutely no battles. Also, it's not having any role as such of gods. One of the important aspects about an epic is that gods play an important role in the lives of human beings, be it an Iliad, or be it a Mahabharata, or be it Odyssey, or be it Gilgamesh. Look at any epic and you'll find the interplay between gods and human beings is very, very common and intricate. Gods are just another set of characters. That's the way to look at it. But here is Shilapatikaram, which has no role of the god except towards the end, which is also a very, very small role to play. And probably the most significant aspect about Shilapatikaram is it completely rests on the shoulder of a woman. You will not find a single epic which is, where the protagonist is a woman. You will not find any. They have a supportive role. They might have an additional role, but nowhere is any epic having a woman as a protagonist. And I think this in itself is a very, very big achievement by the then author named Ilango Adigal. Now, Ilango Adigal was actually a Chera prince around the 2nd century CE, who's actually the author of Shilapatikaram. Now, his background is pretty interesting too. He himself was a prince, and it is believed that at some point of time, when his father was the king, an astrologer had predicted that he would become the ruler of the land. Now, he was the younger son, and hearing the astrologer, the elder brother's face fell, and Ilango noticed it, and he immediately decided to renounce everything in favor of his brother. And that's how he becomes a monk. He becomes a Jain monk. And of course, Ilango Adigal was also the contemporary of Satyanar, who's the author of Manimekalai. And Manimekalai is considered to be the second part of Shilapatikaram. He is supposed to have heard this story. Ilango Adigal is supposed to have heard this story, which was narrated to him when he and his brother and brother's wife, they had gone out on a trip, and somebody narrated this story, and he was so moved by it that he decided that he was going to write an epic on the life of Kannaki and the fateful Silambu, or the Anklet. All the people who are attending this session and are from Tamil Nadu or Kerala, please, pardon my certain pronunciations. They might not be as perfect as you. I'm still going to make that effort. I might sound a little odd, but these are some very, very tough pronunciations. So pardon me for that. Ilango Adigal is, as I said, was a Jain monk, and frankly, far removed from the worldly life. But interestingly, he's portrayed the life of a householder, the pathos of a woman, the life of a courtesan, all so well. And that's an interesting aspect here. Another very important aspect is that in the entire epic, there is absolutely no religious antagonism or even a fanaticism of the time during the Sangam period. It's interesting. At the time of the story, epic which was written, we have a coexistence of Brahmanism or Hinduism, Jainism, and even Buddhism. And everybody was coexisting without any religious antagonism, as I just mentioned. Not only that, in Shilapatikaram, you will even come across some kind of folk deities, some kind of tribal deities. And all this has been so seamlessly interwoven that you really don't feel the dominance of any particular religion. So very clearly, there is a coexistence which has been, I think, very beautifully brought by the author, who himself is a Jain monk. The book Kannaki's Anklet is a kind of an easy read of a Tamil epic, which, as I felt when I was going through it, that not many people know in the West, in the North, and the East. And that was the effort to make it more easy, more readable, because there is a lot of didactism at certain places, which can probably pull down the epic of its merit. So certain places where there is a lot of didactism, those things have been slightly lightened, if I may add. The book is as close or as true to Ilango Adigal's version. And there is no element of fiction added by me, no element of any of my views or my views on certain characters or certain aspects have been added here. So this is my little effort of trying to make this epic more popular to a world which hasn't quite outgrown Ramayana and Mahabharata. Before we get into the journey of Kannaki, from Kannaki to Kannaki Amman, which is what I intend to trace today, very briefly, I'll take you through the story. In the city of Puhar in the Chola kingdom, there lived a merchant and his family. He had a son who was very handsome. His name was Kovalan. And Kovalan, in due course, gets married to a very, very young, beautiful girl called Kannaki. They were living happily when in comes a courtesan, a dancer, Madhavi. And Kovalan falls in love with Madhavi, and he abandons his own home, his parents, his wife, and he goes to stay with Madhavi. In one of the festivals, what is known as the Indra festival, Kovalan heard Kannaki. I'm so sorry, Kovalan heard Madhavi sing certain songs, and he felt somewhere that she's no more true to him. He feels as if she's having an affair with somebody else, and he decides to leave her. He decides to leave her, and he comes back to his wife, realizing what he has done. In the meanwhile, Kannaki had been taking care of Kovalan's parents. And unfortunately, by the time Kovalan gets back to his senses and comes back, they only realize that they are no more as rich as they were. So while Kovalan does realize that he's made a huge mistake by wasting his money, squandering his wealth on Madhavi, he realizes that they're completely penniless right now. Madhavi, in the meanwhile, realizes that Kovalan has left her, but Madhavi was truly in love with Kovalan. Madhavi tries to get Kovalan back, but Kovalan had decided that no, he's going to stay back with Kannaki. When Kannaki is convinced that Kovalan is really back for good, she takes out an anklet which was given to her during her wedding, which was a practice. And they realize that by selling off this anklet, they can probably start a new life, but elsewhere. And that they decided to travel up to Madurai. In Madurai, the details of her journey is what makes the second part of the story, but we won't get into that at this moment. In Madurai, when Kovalan decides to go and sell his anklet, he meets a goldsmith. Unfortunately, this goldsmith was the king's goldsmith, and he had stolen one of the queen's anklets. He found this as a perfect way of keeping the anklet and getting him caught, so that there is no other way he can ever get caught. He goes to the king, and this king was in those days having a problem with his wife, some kind of an argument. And when he learns that the goldsmith has just found a thief who has stolen the queen's anklet, he immediately sends his people along with the goldsmith and tells them and orders them to kill the thief. Now, this is an important aspect. Kill the thief. No trial, no verification, nothing. Kill the thief. The soldiers do exactly as they were told. And even before Kovalan realizes why he's been killed or what has happened, Kovalan is dead. When Kannaki learns about this, she's shocked. She comes to know that it's about an anklet, and she lands up at the king's court. Remember, here is a woman who's completely alone in a new place, in a completely different city. She's never been here before. She learns about her husband's death, and she lands up at the king's court. There she manages to prove that the anklet that was stolen was not the one of the queen, and she shows her anklet. And in the due course, it is proven that the anklet that Kannaki has and the anklet that the queen had lost are two different anklets. She was so angry, but the king realized that he's made a very, very big mistake, probably for the first time in his life. This injustice was too much for the king to bear, and the king on the spot died of shock. He dies of shock, and his wife is equally sad, and the queen also dies. But Kannaki's anger has not been satiated. She was so angry that her husband was killed without even being heard, and the crime was done by none less than a king, without trial. In an extreme state of anger, she pulled out her left breast and hurled it at the city, invoking the god of fire. to burn down the city of Madurai. She invokes her chastity and says, if I have been chaste, if I have been true, then let the city burn. Very clearly, there was no other way, and the fire, the Agni, as it's mentioned, simply goes and starts burning. However, at some point, Kannaki does mention that let the old, let the honest, and let the animals go. And those were the only people who managed to save themselves. It is at this point that the patron's goddess of Madurai shows herself and explains to Kannaki not to be so harsh on the city. And all that has happened due to the past karma of Kannaki and Kovalan. Hearing this, Kannaki sort of cools down, the fire abates, and everything is normal. And then the goddess of Madurai asks Kannaki to travel up to a certain place, and from there she would be taken to the heavens by none other than Lord Indra in his chariot. She goes to that place. It's been about 15 or 20 days when she walks all the way to this place in Kerala. Remember, we started in Puhar, which is in Tamil Nadu, and then from there we came to Madurai, and on the way she goes to Kerala, and from this point she ascends the heaven. And it is believed, according to the story, that Kovalan himself was in the chariot when Lord Indra came to take Kannaki. This is the story of Kannaki. What is interesting here, as far as the way I look at it, is the way the cult of Kannaki has so beautifully spread. Now, we know about this, about Kannaki, and we heard about the story. Let me now tell you how the cult has spread and where. This brings us to the region. The region is important. The entire region from where you see the Cholas, okay, that's where the Puhar, if you can see my cursor, Puhar was supposed to be somewhere here, which during one of the tsunamis is supposed to have completely submerged. From Cholas, Kannaki follows a route from Cholas to the Pandyas and Madurai to the Cheras kingdom in Kerala. That an entire journey, and all this place, the entire region, is believed to have been dotted by numerous shrines dedicated to Kannaki as a goddess. Let us take one important temple here, and that's known as the Attukul Bhagavati temple. This is, of course, a shrine in Kerala. It's a renowned place. And what is important at this stage or at this temple is also the famous Pongal festival. This famous Pongal festival, with thousands of women participate, they cook, and they celebrate this place. And this temple is also known as the famously known as the Sabrimala of the women, because a majority of the devotees are women. It is believed that after the destruction of the city of Madurai, Kannaki left that city and she came right up to here. And this whole temple, if I may go back, this whole temple, if you see the top, the Gopuram of the temple, has the entire story of Kannaki carved in terms of the idols and the statues that you see. So it's a beautiful temple. Unfortunately, I tried to get a close-up image, but because I was trying to sort of pull it, it was getting really hazy. That's why I decided to leave it. And this is a place, and how the temple has come here is an interesting small story, that the goddess supposedly took the form of a little girl. An old man who was sitting on the banks of the river Kili, which flowed during those days, and asked him that she wanted to cross the river. Surprised, the old man was surprised to find such a young girl all alone. He decided not to cross the river, but instead take her home and make sure that she doesn't come across any trouble. But then she disappeared. She came back in her sleep after a few days and asked the old man to build a temple, and that is the background of this temple. So Attukul Bhagavati temple is supposed to be the place where Kannaki is supposed to have come and stayed before she proceeded to her journey. Interestingly, the whole festival of the whole cult of Kannaki has spread right up to Sri Lanka, where she is rechristened as Pattini Devi. And invoking the goddess is a very important ritual marked with processions, and where the entire Tamil Hindus and the Sinhala Buddhists, they come together and celebrate this festival. There have been this conflicts between the two communities. Despite that tension and the ill will between two communities, every time this festival is celebrated, the two communities come together, and it's a tradition which has not been broken till this day. Now, Kannaki was considered to be a chaste wife, but a violent widow, both human and divine. She's the only female deity on par with many of the male deities in the Sri Lankan Buddhist tradition. And, because of the fact that she's a deity, being a widow, a social status which is often looked down upon in the Hindu tradition. So you'll find a rare case of a widow being deified. Now that's an interesting observation here. And there are many of these special festivals that you will find where devotees, they pierce their mouths to indicate, that they are renouncing speech, to focus their thoughts completely on the goddess. Some even substitute their bodies with lime or orange that is offered in the shrines. Interestingly, there are also people who carry this tremendously heavy anklet in procession in one of the provinces of Sri Lanka. And this is considered to be the largest existing Pattini Kannaki anklet in the country. And it's extremely heavy, which is part of the penance by the devotees. This brings me to another important temple, again in Kerala, which is known as the Kodangalur Bhagavati temple. And this is in Thrissur district of Kerala, and it hosts a unique festival again. Legend has it that Devi Bhadrakali, after destroying one of the demons, was calmed down here by the very famous Bharanipattu. What is Bharanipattu? Bharanipattu are basically lyrics which have two important things. One is erotica and the other is abuses. It is believed that these songs are supposed to have a calm down and agitated and an extremely aggressive and overexcited goddess. And till a few decades back, these songs were still sung. But now, due to some kind of activism, because of the obscenity around it, these songs are not sung anymore, at least not in public. But what is important here is that the primary offering to the Kodangalur Amma is hymns which are profane, as I mentioned, and erotic. Some say that this is related to the story of Kannaki of Shilapatikaram. And because of her anger when her husband was wrongly killed. Both men and women dress up, as you can see in the red saris, and they do these rituals of trying to appease the goddess. And it is believed that the goddess's ire, the goddess's anger can only be appeased by these kind of songs. And what they do is that they smite their foreheads with these swords, and blood runs down their faces. And people who are observing it, what they do is they rush and apply turmeric to these wounds, even though these people continue to do it. According to a belief, Kannaki attained her salvation here. And the application of turmeric is again a ritual. It is said that when Kannaki plucked her breast, one of the local women out there applied butter and turmeric to her wound, which is one of the reasons why even the temple idol is usually bathed with turmeric water and presented with butter as the offerings there. It is also believed that the temple has a hidden chamber, which is supposed to be the burial place of Kannaki. Certain rituals associated with the festival lends credence to this. For example, a goldsmith goes around the temple ringing a bell. This ritual connects the community of goldsmiths with the temple and symbolizes their atonement to the harm they caused to Kovalan. Another ritual that they follow in this temple is offering a gold necklace and silk clothes before the goddess by a gold craftsman. So, you see how these stories are connected to Kannaki, though the names have relatively changed. It's Bhagavati. In the earlier version, we saw Kali. That's the Brahminization of the traditional local goddesses, which you will find in many parts of the country. That's not something that is new. But when you trace deeper down the rituals, you will realize that these were the different goddesses. These were not necessarily the Brahminical goddesses that we hear about. And finally, this is known as the Mangala Devi Kannaki temple. And this is in Idukki district of Kerala, bordering Tamil Nadu. And it is believed that it is from here that Kannaki ascends the heaven in the heavenly chariot, which Indra drove down himself and accompanied by her husband. So you see how the entire journey of Kannagi to Kannagi Amman is an interesting journey where a mere mortal is deified up to a level of literally being worshipped, and rituals around so many temples, and the smaller shrines of some of them still exist. But then, it's not just the devotees. There are also politicians who have had politics around Kannagi. A statue of Kannagi was installed by the then CM Annadurai in 1968 on the occasion of the Second World Tamil Conference in Chennai. But in 2002, a truck somehow damaged the pedestal of the statue on a busy street. Since then, it was removed and not installed again. This, of course, led to a political issue. On a segment of the opposition saw it as an affront to the dignity of the Tamil womanhood and the Tamils' zest for justice, a challenge to the Tamil pride. And this amounted to a kind of war of words between the then chief, the DMK chief, Mr. Karunanidhi, and Ms. Jayalalitha. The matter came to a boil, especially when rumors were spread that Ms. Jayalalitha was not installing the idol of Kannaki because, on the advice of astrologers who had suggested that its removal for reasons of Vastu. Of course, when this rumor started gaining ground, there was an uproar, and the then youth wing leader, Mr. Stalin, is supposed to have written close to 50 letters to many authorities to secure clearance for the installation. After much politics, and about 5 years later, the statue was reinstalled at the Marina Beach, where it still stands today, as you can see it. Often I am asked, why Kannagi? Why have I written about Kannagi? What is it that was so interesting? Because Kannagi is actually a kind of a departure from my earlier books, because my earlier books was speaking about women who were very strong, who were very powerful, who were very individualistic, who were very strong in their personality. So what happened and what made me write about Kannaki? Well, Kannaki is definitely different, as I would say, from the mythical heroines. But how is she different? Well, she's not exactly different. She's, in fact, the only difference that I see is she's not quite celebrated. People look down upon her as, she's loyal to a fault. And of course, she's no Sita. She undertook all the troubles along with her husband. Okay, if I have to compare her, Kannaki is loyal to her husband. And if we see it in its social milieu, what choice did she have? She was a child given away in marriage. Her financial situation was dwindling. She had old in-laws who were supporting her. And in those days, married women did not go back to their parental home if something went wrong at the in-laws. She couldn't do much against the trouble. And the parents couldn't do much against the trouble too. She didn't really have choice. And let's not forget that Kannagi still loved Kovalan. Step out of our modern metropolis and the multiplex modern movies ideas, and you will see the scores of women endure such lives. Often have we heard that faith can move mountains, And in Kannaki, we actually see that belief happening. I think she ends up being a beacon to many such women who hope that one day their husbands will see sense. Could it be the power of love? If I have to compare Kannaki with the well-known heroines of other epics, if I have to compare her with, let's say, a Sita or a Draupadi, though Sita's kidnapping led to the burning of Lanka and Draupadi's insult, let's say, metaphorically speaking, led to the burning of Hastinapur by their husbands in both the cases, Kannaki led to the burning of Madurai on her own. She did not need anybody's help to avenge the death of her husband. She did not need a man to unleash havoc on the city. Her chastity and her power in herself was what made it happen. She avenged the insult and the unlawful death of her husband. But in other epics, the men supposedly instilled the rule of right over wrong, and that too with the help of armies and allies. In the epic, Kannaki does it all by herself, without the help of anybody. If I again look at Sita and Draupadi, both were of divine birth. Sita accepted her fate. Draupadi rebelled, but just in words. Kannaki rebelled in action. And I think that's where she stands out as a true heroine who did not need anybody or any other help to get justice. And talking of justice, I would like to bring in one thing, which is exactly what I was referring to at the beginning, what Sindhuji mentioned. And that's one of my most significant interest in this heroine called Kannaki. A very well-known idiom talks about saying you cannot fight the city hall. This phrase means you cannot fight or prevail over a bureaucratic system or the bureaucracy or its rules single-handedly. But Kannaki proved exactly that. You can fight the city hall. And this is the core of the story. That one person with no money in a place that was not native to her, with no family inside, could go before the highest authority and speak and win her case. Isn't that really, really strong and great? We often come across people saying, what can I do alone? Main akela kya karunga? Here is Kannaki who's proven that, yes, you can do it. And an interesting aspect here is that all the political leaders should know the story of Kannaki and of the Pandyan king. For the great hero of Shilapatikaram after Kannaki, if there is anybody, it's the Pandyan king who punished himself when he realized he made a mistake. He gave up his life. Such self-punishment by leaders is a very, very old tradition in South India. And I would just end with this small story, the famous story known as of Manunidhi Cholan, who believed that justice must be done towards both friends and foe. And there's a small story here that one day it so happened that a young calf got crushed under the wheels of the chariot of the son of the king, who was going around the city. The mother of the calf helplessly watched its little one die, walked to the palace gates and rang the huge bell demanding justice from the king. The king, who came out, saw the cow and learned from his courtiers what had happened, decided to do justice. Unrelenting in his promise of justice, he ordered his son to be killed for his recklessness. The prince was killed the same way the calf died, crushed under the wheels of the chariot. The king went through the same pain the cow had as she witnessed her calf dying. The statue of this legendary king stands outside, the Madras High Court even today. We are referring to this level of leadership, which started at the time of Kannaki. And I think this speaks volumes to her as a woman. Thank you. I'll take questions if there are any, and I'll just stop share this.
Thank you so much, Utkarsh. It was wonderful listening to you with your great accent as well as illustrations.
Thank you.
The presentation with so many illustrations. And yes, of course, we have different themes woven into one story here. And it filled us with female power. We are all so proud of Kannaki for doing that. What do you think of that, Shweta?
Hi, hello. Yeah, Utkarsh,
And
it was
again, regarding, yes.
yeah. Can you speak?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Hi, Utkarsh. It was
Hi.
wonderful. The accent, the narration, and the way you describe the whole story. Means it's like simply wow.
Thank
I
you
have
so
never
much.
gone through all these things, and I have never visited so often there in Kerala and Tamil Nadu and that countries. But the way you spoke and the way you narrated everything, I felt like I should go and make a plan, and we should visit there and the temples and everything.
Please do.
Yeah, seriously. Because the way you were narrating, the way you were showing the illustrations, the way you told each and everything about the Pongal and everything, I was mesmerized.
Thank you so
And
much.
definitely we'll search for
We would have actually loved to see your face also when you
Yeah,
say something, when you
it's just
narrate
that
something.
what happens is when the presentation is on, and my video is also on, I often have a problem because of the network. That's why I have to switch it off actually.
But you are a wonderful
That
orator.
was okay.
Wonderful orator.
Thank you so much.
Really, like, I'm speechless, and the applause for you.
So,
Thank you.
Loved it.
Yes,
okay,
there's a
Shweta,
gentleman
let us
trying to ask a
invite
question.
one or two people. Yes, please, Ravi sir.
Yeah, good evening and wonderful Patel ji. So I will buy a book and read it. I must. Why? Because I am sitting in Madurai where it all happened. So
Okay.
I'm a Madurai. My entire life is in Madurai and so beautiful and really loved it. And to add to your this thing, I have also done a lot of reading on.
Excuse me, sir. Anil, please, can you remove my spotlight? I think I am on the spotlight, and Ravi sir.
Yes. Go ahead, Ravi sir.
It's okay. So the thing is that whatever to add to your these things, in Madurai, I have seen the place where it is believed that where Kannaki last lived in her abode. So just before the Kovalan execution, where she sent Kovalan with her anklet, single anklet. That place is here. It is called Kadachanendal. The name also, signifies, denotes the same meaning. Also, not only that, when the monk Kaunti Adigal, when she brought first time Kovalan and Kannaki to Madurai, people were ridiculing them. So the monk actually cursed them, the people who ridiculed them. So cursed them to become the foxen. So
Yes.
that place is available here as Fox and Mound. So it's called Narimedu.
So I didn't talk about the monk. That's a huge part of the story.
Yeah, I know that.
I didn't want to tell the whole story, but Kavundi is definitely a very, very important character in the epic. And the entire second part of the journey of Kannagis to Madurai would be incomplete without her support. So very important character, of course.
Really, I enjoyed the session. I will definitely buy the book and do it.
Please,
I'm also doing the narrations, reviews in Tamil e-book, and it is good. Really nice. I will be doing some about Madura Vijayam next. Earlier, I have done about the archaeological this thing by Airavadam Mahadevan, about the link between Sindhu and this thing. Okay, thank you so much. Really liked it, and I will buy the book and read it. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you, Ravi sir. So can we hear from Somaji now? Soma Sajeev sir.
Yeah, what to say? Utkarsh, the name itself, is really aligned with the topics he's talking. Number one. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Here it is heavy rains, thunder, lightning, very unusual to Chennai. And coincidence, I have been to Kodungalur, that Amma temple, Kodungalur Amma temple, and I had been to Attugal temple, and I had been to the Madurai temple, and I have been to the Malaysia temple.
Oh.
Sri Lanka, I could not go. I have gone there, but I could not visit that. And interestingly, if he has etched and written down about all those things itself, it's a wonderful book for anybody as somebody was saying, you feel like going there. So that kind of detailing he has gone.
Thank you
Like
so
the
much.
structure, and I never knew that Kannaki has got such a. I knew that there is something very, very highly spirited thing. Every second day, here people used to jump on. The Kannaki statue is moved here, somebody is put in here all the time. But I never knew this has got the many layers of connection. And the first lightning. The first story is almost like a movie, totally. It's
Yeah,
a
it is.
romantic movie, like a novel, how he depicted without really spending too much of time, a beautiful romantic story. And then vengeance by Kannaki, by burning, like Hanuman burning the Lanka. And he has got a beautiful voice and vocabulary selection. He can keep writing. One information for you, in the Kodungalur temple, it is actually more than 500,000, 5 lakhs to 10 lakhs thousand people will be there. And they do that erotic, obscene, walking, running, and procession. In spite of it is illegal, police will lathi charge, they try everything. But in the midst of it, on the particular day, still there are people who prepare, rehearse, and they go with such devotion, absolutely obscene and unparliamentary, you can say total. They do that even today, irrespective of police or government they are not able to do that. That is one. At Article Temple, I think it is much more than that. It's around 10 lakhs people will be there on that Pongala.
Yeah,
And
Pongala.
99% of people are only women.
Right.
And the Pujari cannot sprinkle the punyaha that to all the people. So they take on a helicopter route. The punyaha is spread through helicopter on that day. It's a huge and big, and with this much 10 lakhs crowd or 5 lakhs crowd come, in the end of the festival, there is no waste. They themselves are self-disciplined. There is no fire accident.
Right. They clean up the place also.
So many aduppu there with the Pongala, and they believe these are all the blessings of the Devi. And irrespective of the religion, people will come and make the Pongala and go. It's everyone's festival. These are some of the things I can.
Thank you so much.
When we are
Thank
talking.
you. Thank you so much, sir. So I know that there are many other people wait to say something on this, but we can come back later because our second speaker is already 9:30. No, sorry, 7:30. So please, Anil, please introduce our second speaker of the day, and we will come back, Utkarsh ji, for both the reviews again.
Utkarsh ji, thank you so much for that wonderful book. It's
Thank
great.
you.
Yes, as we'll come back again at the end of the session because as we are running out of time. The second book of the day, it's a trend rule, I would call it, a life transforming idea, Susie Welch. This is not a self-help book, although it sounds like it is not to fix your life. She is very clear about it. There are also author Susie Welch. It's a kind of life management tool. It's not a solution to all your problems, but it is simply meant to help you out, make you informed and intelligent decisions that are not based purely on emotions. Is a very, very good book, and I could read this book. The concept is very simple. Phrase your problem as a specific question that you need to answer. Next, gather any information around the question. And the last one is answer the following prompts. And let me put this book with Aashisha. Now, let me talk a little about the Susie Welch. She was born in 1959 as an American author, television commentator, business journalist, public speaker, and this is all about Susie Welch. Now coming to Aashisha Chakraborty, she got a huge fan following in social media. So I was actually going through her social media, and it was very interesting. According to some of her followers, she has a galaxy in her eyes and the universe in her mind. Of course, she makes a mess of everything, but then she makes it right from the heart. And this is what was written there. And she's a winner of Times of India, Right India Season 4-2, Shobha Day, and among the top 6 for both Manu Joseph and Twinkle Khanna. Her short stories have been published in various Didomania anthologies like Different Dreams, Twilight's Children, and in ebooks by Women's Web and Inside IIM. Their articles have appeared in Tamil, in Hindu. Her poems have also been selected in Kafi at the Delhi Poetry Festival. She's a program manager at Airtel, and she's got an MBA from IIFT Delhi. And welcome on to e-Bookery platform, Aashisha. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much, so very much for this illustrious introduction. And it is lovely to be here again. I love these gatherings and the way, the sheer variety of topics that you all have, where everybody gets together. Some days it is like today we started with mythology. And before beginning, I would just like to say that, when I first heard the word, when he said Kannaki, I was like, I've heard this word somewhere. Where have I heard it? He's right. Utkarsh is very right when he says that you've gone through a lot of myths. People keep writing and rewriting Mahabharata and Ramayana. So it's kind of focused a lot on the north. And there are a lot of unsaid epics in the south which have not been received enough light. Then it struck me where I heard this word. Kannaki is actually also a Japanese term, and it means a shaman. So I was like, yes, this is where I had heard it. And I was listening to all that he said, and the blasting of Madurai and how she calmed down, and then this happened. So it tells me, even in Japanese history, I mean, I don't know why I'm talking about this right now, but it's quite interesting. They also talk about a certain supernatural power in their literature, where recently there is this Arif Kuang is an author who has come up with a whole series, a fantasy series on these shamans. So they also talk about a lot about fire and using fire and all this stuff. So, everything is so interconnected. I'm like, I'm going to read this book right away. So thank you for that illustrious piece, Utkarsh.
Thank you.
Come to, this, there's a complete change, a complete reversal to Susie Welch now. And we're talking about suddenly we are back to our MBA days and time management and whatnot. So just like every every manager and, every business consultant does, I'll also be putting up my PPT. So I just need the attendee screen sharing rights so I can do that. If you could just allow me to share the screen, because how it normally is.
Go ahead, Aashisha. Yes, you can share it.
I will be sharing my screen. Just give me a second. Yes. So I hope you can see the slideshow.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much. So this is the book I was talking about. So I'll be reviewing this book, which is 10-10-10, and I will tell you why I'm reviewing this. Susie Welch, all of us have heard of her. She's a business, Anil also told us, she's a businesswoman. She's written amazing stuff about how to live our lives and how to do things right. She started off as a reporter, basically. She started off as a reporter, and she was some of those people who had, you just try to get a good story, you just try to find what really works, and I have to, find what works, and then I have to, give them a story. So one day she just went for a Harvard Business Review with this person, and that was your, Jack Welch, and it was then that he met her. Okay, so I think I have shared. Okay, which can you just tell me which one can you see? The third slide, the consequences.
What are the consequences of my decision in 10 minutes?
All right. Yeah, cool. So basically, she asked herself, this was the first thing that she wrote in opera. She asked herself 3 questions, 3 main easy questions.
Can you put it in the slideshow?
Yes.
So that the house only. The Anil's house.
Once more.
No, Anil is coming. The spotlight is playing.
Yeah.
No, that's
Okay. You put it again back.
yeah, I've just put it.
And then maybe slideshow, activate the slideshow.
Very good.
Now it's, yeah. So the consequences of your decision in 10 minutes, 10 months, 10 years. So she met up with Jack Welch, and she told, this person, and she said that this particular interview lasted very long, and it ended in a huge lunch. And then she sort of, it was quite a scandal. She ended with. So at that point of time, Jack Welch was married, and they did not want to particularly get into that kind of thing or create a problem for themselves. So however, at the end of the day, that they married together and they were really happy. So how did she take that decision, right? She was sacked from her job once, because it was a professional setup, and ideally people should not get to such things when you're in a professional setup. So this particular situation, and then there are such situations where she had taken off a complete, she'd gone for a vacation, she took her kids with her, and then finally there was some call and she had to go back. So how do you decide, how do you take decisions? It becomes really important to understand what are the reasons, or what are the things or the parameters that we have to keep in mind while taking a decision. So this is a very good mantra that she shared, and she said, what are the consequences of my decision in 10 minutes, 10 months, 10 years? So for the first time, this appeared on Oprah's website, and then she convinced a publisher, and she, extended it to a whole length novel. So let's take one particular situation in her life, and then we can apply it to our lives as well. So when she met Jack Welch, and she knew that, one lunch, probably they had some sparks. There were some sparks, but then this guy is married, and, it's kind of immoral. She would be sacked from her job at the Harvard Business Review, and she didn't know how to go about it. I mean, should she take this step? Should she not take the step? What should be, the consequences? So the best thing about this book is, it's just as Anil said, it's not a self-help book. It does not tell you the right things to do. It just tells you the consequences. In the next 10 minutes, going ahead with that lunch, or, taking it beyond the professional domain would probably seem good, because, she would have a good time. She would do what her immediate hedonistic tendencies are leading her to do. Now, what would be the consequences in the next 10 months? The next 10 months would be scandalous. She had 3 kids. She had to deal with a lot of press. She has 3 kids. She needs a stable job. And of course, maintaining that level of, fame and popularity, that really hits somebody hard. It would affect her kids as well. So the first 10 minutes gives a positive thumbs up. The second reason, the second parameter, that is the next 10 months, shows that it's a pretty bad choice. And then the last one comes in, the next 10 years. Now, would anybody remember in the next 10 years? Would it matter in the next 10 years? Should she sacrifice the current short-term, whatever ideas she has for a longer term? So that third parameter, I think, is the most important deciding factor in all of our decisions. So what she did. So this is, I'll just quickly change. Yeah. So she shortly afterwards, Susie and Jack went for lunch, and it was the longest. And the day after that, she told the editor to remove the article, and she said, I would resign and I'm leaving. So this is how they met. This is how she took her own mantra into her life, and she used it like this. Of course, Jack Welch, we do not need to really tell who he is. He is the chairman. He was the chairman and CEO of General Electric, and he was a great business person with a great acumen, everything that you can think about. So now let's, come up with exactly what are, what we as people might be faced with the problems or the dilemmas that we are faced with. So today, if we think about a career change, I mean, I can see a lot of cross careers. And last time also we had discussed a lot of cross careers, people moving from one place to another, um, you know, an IITian suddenly going into, arts and studying something else, people going on to do a PhD after PhD. How do you take these decisions? How do you know that they won't come back in the face? Especially people who go for startups. How do you know that these startups are going to last? I mean, how do you know they would not, bust and cause you a lot of pain in the coming years? And how do you know they would be the worst things or the worst decisions you've ever taken? So the easy answer is you don't. But the 10 minutes idea gives you the basic point that, it can give us short term, it can give us a lot of short term happiness. But does it give us a relatively longer term return? And even in the next 10 years, does it really give us anything worth keeping? So somebody who goes for a startup often thinks that I'm here to create a legacy. I'm not here to think that, okay, I'm going to sink 5 lakhs or I don't know, 5 crores in this whole venture. They think that they're going to create a legacy. That is what talks about the long term. But again, every time a long term perspective does not help. You got to know where your operational money is going to come from, your transactional money is going to come from. That's probably the calculation you're going to do in the next 10 months. In the next 10 minutes, you'll be very pumped up. Probably, your business partners would be there and they'd be like, yeah, we do this, we do that. Yesterday, a friend of mine called me up and he said that, look, I'm going to start a gaming developer company. I'm becoming a gamer. And this is legit, by the way. None of this is made up. And this person, he used to work so he was my batchmate and he worked in Dubai for about 2 years. And during the pandemic, he came back and he's like, I want to do something of my own. For a while, he worked for a couple of authors and, he helped me as well in, building my social media and stuff. And then he's like, now I'm going to do gaming full time. I'm going to become the Naughty Dogs of India. I mean, those who are into gaming, they know that Naughty Dogs is the big game developer. So probably, I'm not sure whether he went through this 10-10-10 formula, but if you do, you will realize that these are the various parameters I'm going to keep in mind. Something similar could be talked about in terms of relationships. Now you meet a person, so this could be both in terms of dating someone or finding someone through a dating app or your shadi.coms and stuff, or knowing somebody for very long. When you take the plunge, how do you take that decision? How do you know that it's the right decision or the wrong decision? Of course, in the next 10 minutes, it looks really good. It looks really rosy. But will it last for the next 10 months? Suppose you and your partner are in a long distance relationship. And how are you going to work it out? Maybe for the next 10 months, that, okay, she is in Australia, you're in the UK, probably we'll be doing back and forth. Or how about in the next 10 years? The various questions that you think about, kids, and whether, your career, how much are you willing to sacrifice? Forget about the good parts. Think about when you have an argument with someone, suppose you had an argument with your parents or somebody in your family and you're like, dude, I hate this person. I mean, why am I even with them at all? I don't want to live them. And there are so many split second decisions. You leave in the next 10 minutes because, you're very angry. But think about what will happen in the next 10 months. You don't know what will happen. Okay, probably if they're not too old, then of course the 10 months is going to pass just like that. And you're going to feel that, fine, I have to maintain a certain level of pride. What will happen in the next 10 years? You don't know even if that person will be alive or not. Is it worth keeping a certain grudge? Is it really worth keeping a grudge? I remember there's this time management session there attended by Ankur Wariko, and he had mentioned that, I'm sure this is something which all of us have also heard quite a number of times, that we get about 86,400 rupees every day. Suppose you are given 86,400 rupees every day, and suppose you just, lost 400 rupees. Somehow it just fell out of your pocket or somebody stole it. Would you really give away the 86,000 rupees that you have left? Would you also give it away willingly? Or what would you do with it? Right? So it's just like, for you, we have 86,400 seconds in a day, and we get it every day. It's like somebody puts this money in our bank account. Whether we use it or not, it's up to us. So at the end of the day, it's going to expire. I mean, nothing is going to be left. So if somebody wastes your time, say for 400 seconds, somebody said something to you, or some crap happened to you, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to like give away your 86,400 rupees to them? Are you really going to do that? Or are you going to just forget it? Okay, 400 seconds is gone. I don't want it. Now I'm going to use the rest of the time that I have. So, this is how I think, where we think the consequences of our decision lie. And now I come to the reason why I came to this book. When I chanced upon this book, this was lying in my shelf, in my bookshelf, and somebody had gifted it to me. And I had not read it for over, I think, 2-3 years, because self-help tends to be so preachy. It tends to just talk on and on about things that have nothing to do with you, and you don't want to have anything to do with it. You're like, do this, do that, lose weight, do this, you're going to be amazing, get up at 4-3, sleep at 9. I mean, you have all these ideas. I read this this year itself, and I was blown by the idea and the realness of the situation, because I was in such a situation myself. Should I write the book? Should I make the effort to actually pitch it to a publisher? Or should I just wait for the right time? Should I wait for the right publisher, or maybe the right topic, or the right time? And then this came into my mind. So last time when I arrived on, this e-Bookery city, I remember I talked about this book, which is due right now in 2022, by Rupa. So it's called The Misadventures of a Sales Girl. And, today's session also was based somewhere in Chennai. And this book is also based in Chennai. And I'm like, I wanted this book to come out this year itself. And I'd been fighting with the editor and the publisher that, schedule it, schedule it as soon as possible. And she told me that, look, do you want actually to schedule it right away during the lockdown? Do you really want it? Or do you want to like wait and, go through your whole script once and wait for the whole thing to die down? So, that's a 10-10-10 situation. What do I want? Should I wait for the right time, or should I just go in and like, give it my best and give it away? So yeah, I decided to wait. And I'm going to go through my 10-10 decision with you guys, and you guys can tell me if the decision, so nobody can really tell how good it was or how bad it was, but maybe 10 years down the line, I'll know. But in the next 10 minutes, it seems to be, I'm very impatient. I want the book to be out. I had given the script about a year ago. I really want to talk about my adventures or my experiences as a salesperson. I mean, the kind of hardships I endured and the kind of things I learned, and the fun part of actually being on the ground and talking to different people, learning a new language, getting your hands dirty in that male-dominated area and emerging triumphant for a change. So that was a heady, adventure for me. And I want to tell it as soon as possible. And when you announced it everywhere, you're like, let's get on with this book. So this was my reaction for the first 10 minutes. Now for the next 10 months. The next 10 months are uncertain for me. The next 10 months are uncertain. I don't know what's going to happen. Will there be a third COVID wave? I'm sure there would be. When this decision was being taken, I think COVID was receding. I mean, we were in the throes of January, where everybody had started doing their Goa trips and stuff, and had already, stopped wearing masks or something like that. Today, we saw how serious things had become, in April and March. We were fighting for our lives. I myself saw a lot of friends, a lot of batchmates lose their lives. A lot of my mom's friends, a lot of my elders lose their lives. A lot of my family members lose their lives. So had I taken that split second decision without thinking what would happen in the next 10 months, I don't think I would have been able to do justice to my efforts. So yeah, that part I would suggest. Thanks, Susie, for just jumping in and telling me that, look, think a little farther. Now comes the question of the next 10 years. And should you go with this book if you're thinking about going for the next 10 years? Now, I think that, if it's a good book, if it's a book that talks about, your values, and if it's a Bildungsroman, as they say, a topic, a book where you tell people about growing up and growing up into a better person, then it will stay in people's minds for longer. So why not just take a chill pill and go through a couple of more revisions? It's fine. It's fine to be late. It's better to be late than never. Let's be late, and let's be good, and let's be fine. There's no hurry. There's no rat race, and that's where I stand right now. So I probably should have, by now. I think last time I had a chat with some of e-Bookery said, and I said, by this time, by July, my book will probably be out, and I'll be reviewing that book. But no, it isn't out, and that's what I learned from this book that I read, that it's okay to wait, and to wait for the right time. So that's where I'm standing now. However, there's something which I do have for you guys. I mean, if you're into short stories, and if you enjoy little nuggets of fun, so all of these are primarily a little bit women oriented. So The Lady of the Ring, Leave Your Sex Outside, The Constant. So one is about an automobile engineer who is intellectually assaulted at her company, and then she moves out, and then she establishes herself. The other is about a famed genie who gives a magic ring to a woman. This is my, thing at magic realism that I tried. And the final one, The Constant, is about, whether love or time which will thrive. So I'll just play a little video if you permit me. I will share the video right now.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Give me a second. Okay, so am I audible? I mean, is this video visible?
Yes. Loading still.
I'll just start playing. If you cannot hear the audio, just let me know.
Yes, it is visible and audible.
No, audio is not there.
There's no audio, but we can
Yes,
see the
audio is not there. Audio is not.
Okay. Just I will probably just
maybe you need to share the sound as well.
share the sound as well. Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
Got it. I got it.
Hey, you want to be coming?
Hello. It is still going on.
Okay, I'm gonna restart it. Just let me know if the audio is still not there. I hope the audio was fine.
It was fine, yes.
So yeah, that is the short story I was talking about, where which I penned a few short stories in the interim. So if any of you are into short stories, you could go check out on the website. And well, that's pretty much it. So if you wanna connect with me. I am usually, you can find me on Aashisha.com or the_mind_bin, which is on Twitter and Instagram both. And of course, I'm on Facebook at Aashisha.themindbin. So that's pretty much it by me. I hope I've not exceeded the time. Yeah, I would love to take questions.
Thank you, Aashisha. Yes, we can actually use this information or use this formula 10-10-10 for many of our decisions in life, be it small or big or anything like that. So we would like to invite some others here. So can you stop sharing the screen, please, Aashisha?
Let's call Guna sir, Sindhu.
Yes.
Yes,
Guna,
thank you very much,
sir.
Anilji. And it's really thought-provoking. What is that we can do within 10 minutes? What is that we can do within 10 months and 10 years? Really thought-provoking. And immediately I checked it, but I am not able to find the book in the Amazon. But you provoked me to read that book once again. And your review is also amazing. And I learned that you're a writer, and it is also amazing to see you. And thank you so much for being here and introducing a new book. And thank you so much.
That is so nice of you. Thanks.
Yes, Aashisha, best wishes for your new book launches. And then who else here?
Professor Mamta, Major Narayan.
Yes, Major Narayan sir is here.
Yeah. And it's open. I mean,
Major sir.
To...
Yes. Yes, please. Jain sir, can you speak?
Hello.
Yes.
Yes,
Hi,
ma'am.
Nice to see you here. Actually, you are so young. After that, your way of talking is amazing. Really, it is very impressive. God bless you. You may go ahead of things and being a success in your life. So nice to see you, dear.
Thank you
God
so
bless
much.
you.
Let me call Sandeep Nath. If Sandeep ji, if you're around, please share a few words.
Thank you, everybody. I'm afraid I just have to keep my video off because
That's fine. That's fine.
But it was an absolute pleasure the last hour or so listening to Utkarsh and Aashisha. And in fact, I had some one question for Utkarsh, which I thought I'd not ask because we were already overrunning time. But now that we have time, I just wanted to check, Utkarsh, this was the first time I came across this piece of mythology, and thank you so much for bringing it into our awareness. I was wondering that, the original text was written, I may have missed it, but that was around the 3rd century. Is that how it was? AD? Is that when it was?
Yeah, around the 2nd century. Yes, you're right. Common era. Yeah. And it was written in Tamil. One of the reasons why probably it was not picked up beyond Tamil Nadu is because it was written in Tamil, and in those days epics were all written in Sanskrit. Maybe this was also one of the reasons why it was not accorded the due status of it being an epic.
No, but it's a very interesting story. It does go into the god realm, however. It's not like it's completely... Indra does finally enter the picture.
Yeah, it does. Exactly. But, not a role as such. Gods are not playing a role, except, of course, the Madurai deity, the patron deity of Madurai does come. But you see, when you look at epics, gods play a role. They kind of, sort of interact with human beings, be it Odyssey, Iliad, or, your own Ramayana and Mahabharata. They all interact, and the gods have a very prominent role, which is missing in Shilapatikara.
Correct. What is fascinating about that is the way it's been cult and it's gone international, and that is what really drew my attention.
True.
Because making something into a cult from sort of and that's something I would like to connect with you independently about. Anil knows about it. I'm the author of a book called Renewal, and attempting to create a movement around renewalism. But being the way it is, it's we need thinkers like you to make cult out of it.
Sure, you can get in touch. You can keep in touch with me. I'm just sharing my email ID on the chat box, and feel free to connect with me.
Right?
Yes. Please.
Please, Shweta.
Yeah, thank you so much. Great, Aashisha. You made us to understand very nicely what this book is all about. And I have noted all the things. I have taken a screenshot of your whereabouts. I'll definitely visit it. And all the best for your upcoming book. Thanks for sharing with us. And I'm lucky. Thank you, Anilji, for calling me here today. It's really a pleasure of being with such wonderful and such a nice people, the bunch of people. I am blessed, seriously. So I have to leave. Thank you so much, and all the best, Utkarsh and Aashisha.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you, Shweta. Now, who else, Anil?
Sindhu, oh yeah, let's see. Okay, Jain sir
Otherwise,
is
we will just ask Utkarsh ji and Aashisha about their experiences. And then if anybody else wants to
please.
say something about this, we will. So Utkarsh ji, what was your experience here?
Well, it's interesting. I'm really glad that on a weekend, you really get 40 people to come and discuss books and listen to people. That's really interesting. I mean, I must say that's on weekends, people don't like to spend time talking about books or reading books. But I'm really glad that across the countries, right? I mean, from Dubai and from India, you got people. So interesting, and I'm glad that I'm speaking here today. And thank you very much, Anilji, and the entire e-Bookery team for inviting me here today. Would love to come back again anytime.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, definitely. Yes, Aashisha.
I had
Before Aashisha speaks, sorry to interfere. Aashisha, thank you very much. You really introduced something very interesting. I seldom get to read anything other than my own, subject. But I like the whole idea of the 10-10-10 that you introduced. So I will definitely catch up. And one more sort of advice, though unwarranted, let me confess that if your book doesn't come out in the recent times, postpone it. It's a very bad time for books to be published. And if your publisher is telling you that, don't have the book come out now, listen to them. I have a book which I manuscript which I submitted last year, and it's continuously being postponed. And I personally feel that with the COVID situation in the country and so much of uncertainty, bookstores are closing down. Many of the boutique stores are closing down. Probably this is not the right time. Is this your first book?
Yeah, it'll be my first.
Okay, so if it's a first book, all the more reason, wait for a good time. This is not a good time for the book. So sorry to disappoint you, but trust me, if it gets postponed for post-COVID, your book will do better.
I mean, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
It's much needed because there's so much uncertainty everywhere.
Yeah. And once you submit manuscript, it's like, when is it going to come out, right? As I said, I submitted my manuscript. This is my fourth, which I submitted way back last May. That is 2020 May, and I know, and I'm also not hurrying up with them. I'm willing to wait it out because it's a better thing to wait than have your book. Because if it comes out now, there'll be no publicity, no promotions. You'll get to do nothing, no physical activity with the book. So it's best. And first time author, all the more things will be tougher. So wait it out, let things get better. And it's good to, in the meanwhile, write another book.
Yeah, exactly. That's what, turning out short stories and writing other books. But that was really, really good. And you're right. This crossover of genres was also pretty interesting. Mythology and kind of self-help. Pretty cool.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, back to Aashisha.
I just enjoyed the whole gathering, as you also said, we don't really give the time to book so much because we're so rushed, and every day, every weekend, we want to just sometimes just chill or not do anything or stay away. It's good to find like-minded people once in a while and talk about nothing but books. You get a lot of good recommendations from here. And like somebody said they'd pick up 10 10 10, somebody said they'd pick up the short stories, I said I'll pick up that mythology book. It's a good exchange of ideas, and also it kind of helps us get uplifted. It's a good feeling to know, it's a fellow feeling to know, okay, everybody's in the same boat and we will get through this together. So I love the idea of these meets, and well, they should definitely continue. So thank you for inviting me. We had I had a blast.
Thank you, Aashisha. And Sushil, you told us that you are here for the first time. What do you feel about these two books and your experience? Yes, Sushil.
So, hi. So I'm just simply mind blown. So I learned everything. I mean, whatever that was shared to me, it was entirely new to me. So I'm just looking forward to meet you all guys every weekend. So thank you so much. And I'm going to read your books.
Yes. Thank you so much. Yes, anyone else here?
Yeah, let me add. Aashisha,
Yes,
thank
so
you.
much, sir.
This is Ravi. Hello.
Yes, so much, sir. Please go on.
Okay. I have already spoken, but I just would like to. It's actually an interesting thing. In Robin Sharma's 5 a.m. book, we are taught on 20-20-20. So that is a big philosophy. And the guy who went to space now, Richard Branson, he takes all decision with the first 10 seconds. All decisions. He won't read the next page of any proposal. His selection happened while he is on a plane. He likes somebody. He is the marketing. That's a habit he does. You have to read his books, then only you know all his decisions. He feels he get a feeling, and then you first few seconds is over. Decision is over. That is one. Another aspects in management and leadership for you have to understand is you have to study Japan. Japan, generally people plan for the companies, even budget 15 years. There are companies that do it for 20 years, they got milestone and they do the kind of thing. So what I'm giving you is an insight for you because you are a young, enterprising, smart, capable person, and now you have come to e-Bookery, so you should not leave this place. Keep coming, you may get better ideas, you may be able to publish books. We have got a lot of authors coming here. I am in a group called Author Entrepreneur Group. I have brought this person here. He has already written a book, but he helps anybody who is writing. There are so many people. You are very talented, highly qualified, you have got a good job. So keep it cool and you can do many things. And as Guna was telling, he was so happy to see a young person coming and talking. And book is already ready. When book is ready, you know, then no one can wait. It's like a baby, you know. So amazing book, amazing thought also. It's a good idea. We all try to practice the 10-10-10 and see that what results are going to come. So that is the one encouraging word I want to tell you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, go ahead. That's all. No one should stop you. Marathon runners are like that. The first 10 minutes is the most difficult thing. Then later sometime, you know, you cross that 100 meters, then 10,000 meters, it goes on like that. All the very best.
Okay, Major Saab, nice to see you here. So let's hear a few words from you as well, and then we will time to wind up.
Both the reviews were thoroughly riveting, I should say. Each one was so different, diverse reviews. One was steeped in history, one is steeped in management. One was more poignant and second was more powerful. One was narration was superb, and second, the person Aashisha was navigating herself through the labyrinthine mazes of the book. Both of them stood very, very well in different parts. And if the first one, Utkarsh, was poetry in motion, I should say, Sarapatikaram, whereas Aashisha's Susie Welch's 10-10-10 was a prosaic rendering of the nuances of how to lead a successful life. I thoroughly enjoyed both the reviews, and both of them stand out for their uniqueness, authenticity, and powerful wordplay. All the best to Aashisha and Utkarsh also. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Major Sir.
Thank you so much. It's so nice of you.
And let me add one point. The name Kannaki's Anklet brought me here. After reading the name, that I decided that today I should attend at any cost. And one thing is, one more thing I want to tell is, the Kannaki is a local god in many of communities in Tamil Nadu. Local god, local deity, they say that Kuladevams or something like that. Local deity in many of the communities, not only for this Artikal temple or something like that. It's a local god for local deity for many of the communities in Tamil Nadu. And the narration was excellent.
Thank you.
To be frank with you, Utkarsh Patel, the narration was awesome. So totally enjoyed like anything. So I just wanted to stay and I want to tell this to you. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. There are so many sayings also that is, if one gets angry often and then the fire inside comes out, somebody will say she has become like Kannaki, like that.
Exactly.
Yes. Yes. So it is. If nobody else is speaking, Anil, shall we wind up?
You can, yes, yes, Sindhu, please, yes. Yeah.
So it's time to wind up now. Hope to meet you
so much.
all again next week also. Thank you so much for being